Hi, welcome to the sixth part of my 10-part tutorial series, Learn C++ in 2 hours. Object-oriented programming, or OOP in short, has 3 major pillars: encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. An object-oriented programming must have all these 3 features. Encapsulation means bundling of variables and even functions together in a group called class. In this context, variables are known as data members. As usual, I will begin with an example. Suppose I want to make a program to get students' information from a file such as this, where I need to read ID and mark and calculate the grades. To build this program without encapsulation is actually difficult and cumbersome. Let's see how it is done. So this is a general structure of a program. Let's say there is a maximum of 100 students. So I would need a constant variable, total students. And to read this data, I would need to create some parallel arrays. One array to store IDs, one array to store marks, and finally, one array to calculate grades. So these are known as parallel arrays. Then to read this file, I need to write some code, which I have covered in the previous tutorial. So here I am reading students.txt. Please note that the first row is a header. So I want to discard this line. And to do that, I need to create a function. Its implementation is given here. So this function discards a given line. Once a line has been discarded, I will read this data. And to do that, I need to have a while loop. While not end of file. That means I have to keep on reading this data until I reach the end of file. So the next is I need to declare a variable and start reading the data. So you can see I read the ID and store into the first slot of array of IDs. Then I read the mark and store into array of marks. To verify if I have read the data correctly, I can print it into the console by writing a cout statement and then increment the counter. Sometimes it is important to write this statement in file WS. WS stands for white space. We do that to read any additional white spaces. So this is a complete program. You may like to pause this video for a while and get this code from my GitHub account to understand how this program works. See the link in the description section. So this is a solution without any encapsulation. Next, I will modify this program with encapsulation, and you see the result, how better the program looks with encapsulation. So that is the usefulness of object-oriented programming. It helps to manage the code well. So let me first show you the usage of class before making any changes to the previous program. To make a class for student or group student-related data, we begin by writing class student, open and close braces. So this is a structure of a class, and this is the name of this class. So student has ID, mark, and grade. Generally, the name of a class is singular, and it starts with a capital letter. Additionally, you can choose which members to be accessible within the class and which members to be accessible outside the class. And to make the members accessible outside the class, you have to write public : that means all of these members are now accessible outside the class. However, in this particular case, I don't want outsiders to access grade variable. So to protect it, I would write private. That means grade is only accessible within the class. Now the definition of student class is complete. So you initialize the variable of the student class in the same manner as you do with any other data type. So to create a variable for student, I would write the data type, which is student, and the variable is S. You can think of this variable as a set which contains these members. However, the technical term of this variable is object. So from now on, I will be saying object rather than a variable. So this is called a class or user-defined data type, and this is called an object. Now the usage of an object is very simple. We just have to use a dot operator to access these members. So let's say I want to access ID, and let's say that is S1100, something like this, and the mark is 98. There is typo here. Now you can print these members in the same manner as you print any other variable by writing s.id and s.mark. Compile and run. So this works fine. However, if you try to access a private member, let me try it. Even though grade is not listed here, I can still write it is equal to A. But if I compile this, I get the error that grade is private. So the private members are not accessible outside the class. Now we are ready to make use of a class for the program discussed earlier. So to make a class for these information, we can create the definition of a class here. Class student. One student has one ID, one mark, and one grade. So I will write string ID double mark char grade. As we have seen previously, these two are public and the grade is private. So as I had created an object of student, in the same manner, I can create array of students simply by writing S and total students. Oops, sorry about the typo. So coming back to this, now we don't need these parallel arrays. Since we no longer have these arrays, I can get rid of this and write ith student and his or her ID. Same thing I'll do with the mark. So this term refers to ith student and his ID. Now I can quickly make the changes here as well. Now let's compile and run. All good. And this is the result. Now you can see this code is much cleaner than before. Now to calculate the grade for students, I can write a function inside student. So function would be char calc grade. So here if mark is greater equals 50, let's say this grade is pass. P stands for pass. Else grade equals F, fail grade. And then I can also return the grade. If a function is written inside the class, it is known as the method or behavior of a class. And these variables are known as properties or attributes of a class. So to calculate the grade for students, I can write grade and then student I dot calc grade. I can add some space here. So this is the final result. Now you can see all students related functions and variables are inside one class. So this way managing a code becomes much easier. So this is all about encapsulation and using classes in C++.